Well, to me, it's starting to look a lot like Team Trump put Mitt Romney up for this position for consideration simply to get back at him for his opposition during the general election and the primary. It's not just Kellyanne Conway who's come out publicly against Mitt Romney in this position. Mike Huckabee has done so, in addition to a number of other advisors or loyalists to Donald Trump. But I think it's important to remember that Donald Trump said on the night he was elected that there have been a lot of people who criticized him, but he wants to put that aside and he needs the help of those who have been critical of him. And Mitt Romney immediately congratulated him on his win when he locked down that presidency. And so they're working together, I think, for the future of the country. Whether they'll be able to work together on foreign policy if Mitt Romney were to be chosen as Secretary of State is a whole nother question, considering their differences on major issues.
Yeah. I mean, Donald Trump threw a lot of shade at Mitt Romney over the years, too. You know, he said he choked like a dog in the election. So it seems like there's enough criticism on both sides for these men to potentially, you know, say, okay, you know, we were really nasty to each other and perhaps we want to work together. You know, it looks like there's a divide in, it's tough to tell, you know, about the messages that are being sent out by Kellyanne this morning, but perhaps there is a Romney camp, and maybe that goes along the Reince Priebus lines and over on that side, and then Bannon and the other part of the group appears to be leaning towards Giuliani. Do you think that's accurate?
Well, I think that's very accurate, and I also would give Trump credit for having both of those sides of the argument inside his advisory group. But I think when you look at what we're dealing with here, ultimately, as they've said, Donald Trump is going to be the one who makes this decision. And yes, there's the loyalists and there's the people who have been opposed but who are willing to work for the betterment of the country. And there's a difference between being loyal on the campaign trail politically and a difference between being loyal when it comes to foreign policy. And when you look at major issues like Russia, Mitt Romney and Donald Trump couldn't be further apart. They're essentially 180. There's a lot of people still being considered for this position. Mitt Romney happens to be one of them. Donald Trump is meeting with General Petraeus today in New York City. Congresswoman Gabbard is also on the list, apparently. And so I think there's a lot more consideration going on. But as we've seen, there's a much more public debate happening around Mitt Romney's consideration than other candidates at this point.
Katie, you were very anti-Donald Trump during the course of the election. So who would you like to see in that spot?
You know, I'm not sure. I think, I don't know what the negotiations are happening behind the scenes. I think Mitt Romney is qualified for the position. After all, he was a Republican nominee who came out with his own plans for foreign policy. He's good friends with Benjamin Netanyahu, has good relationships with foreign leaders around the world, both in business and with policy. But I think that they have to be in step with Donald Trump's foreign policy for the Secretary of State to serve as the benefit of the president around the world. And I don't necessarily think that Mitt Romney's views on the world match up with Mr. Trump's.